Special edition of the podcast today. We're live from downtown San Jose at the market, San Pedro Market, with the college football championship fan festivities a few blocks away. Thanks everybody for coming out, for watching live stream. Whoever might be listening to this, recording posted on the hotline in a few days. Also thanks to Erin McKinley from the Mercury News for all her hard work here getting this set up. And I've got a wingman today, Bud Geraci, who's actually my boss, sports editor of the Mercury News, former columnist.
Forced my way on this?
Forced your way on. And we got a lot to talk about. If there's any questions about anything going on with Pac-12, National Championship game, a lot of news these days in college football. But our main topic is, which, as Bud could explain, we're trying to mesh the National Championship game, which does not have any Pac-12 representation, with the Bay Area and regional audience.
Well put, John. One of the hard things for us, or one of the challenges for us as local media when these big national event comes, like the Super Bowl a couple years ago, is local interest in teams such as the Denver Broncos and Carolina Panthers, or in this case Alabama and Clemson, is pretty limited. And so we look for things, you know, that would appeal to the local audience. What's in it for them? Of course, you get a little bit about the teams that are playing, but you can get that anywhere. What we try to do is what can you do as a citizen? How can you be part of this, or what would appeal to you? And the added challenge with this, so you're trying to serve two audiences. With John doing the Pac-12 exclusively, we were looking for something that would serve three audiences. And we had enough coffee one morning that something came to us. And that was to talk about the Pac-12 not being here, which wasn't a great surprise. Pac-12 hasn't been in the national championship game since 2014 when Oregon lost to Ohio State. And the question here today is, when will the Pac-12 be back in the playoff, and who would that be? Because at least from a novice like me looking at it, I don't see any team on the rise in the Pac-12, at least not enough to crack the four.
Yeah, it's a tough time for the Pac-12 these days. A couple of bad seasons, and it does seem like getting a team in the playoff is years and years away, but it's only been 4 years since Oregon was there. Oregon was there played for the national championship in 2010, USC middle of 2000, so it hasn't been that long. But it feels like the climb is going to be much more difficult. We also have the national championship game. So if there's any questions about that or what else is going on, I know Stanford just lost J.J. Arcega-Whiteside to the NFL draft. USC today, there's reports today that USC is blocking NFL teams from interviewing Cliff Kingsbury. Oregon just lost their top receiver. So if there's any questions about Pac-12 developments, happy to take those, plus the national championship game. You got a prediction for that?
I do, but there's Clemson people here, so I'll probably keep it down. I like Alabama, but first I say I really like Clemson. They're very impressive. I like their long-haired quarterback. It's what I want it to be, and he's very impressive. The team's very good, but they will be playing in Alabama, a team that is, I believe, considerably better than Notre Dame. Has two quarterbacks better than Notre Dame's one. And I mean, just Alabama they're just so strong. And I'm not even going to I'm not even going to take the 6 points. I'm going to give 6 and go with Bama.
What's interesting is I was looking at doing a little research on the Pac-12 situation. To this point, there have been 14 college football playoff games, 14 winners. Only 5 teams have actually won a playoff game, and 10 of the 14 are wins are for Alabama and Clemson. Ohio State's won 2, Oregon won 1, Georgia won 1. It has been a very exclusive club, and I think that relates to what our topic is for the podcast is, can the Pac-12 break into back into that club and not only get into the playoff, but then win a game and then win 2 games, because the competition at that level is so much tougher, and those teams are just so loaded with NFL talent. And that's part of the reason why, I think there's some discussion about expanding the playoff and giving more teams opportunities. But no other teams really have proven themselves capable of actually winning games.
You could, from what I saw, you could expand the field to 8 or maybe 80.
Yep.
And I don't know that the Pac-12 would be here today. Well, I'm sure they wouldn't be here, but maybe they would get to the second round. What do you think's gone wrong with what Bill Walton calls the Conference of Champions?
Yeah, well, there's a lot. That's probably a 2-hour podcast, which maybe I'll do later this week. For football, I think a lot of basketball is pretty cut and dry. You get a couple good players, you're set. Football is much more involved. The machinery for a successful football program is so complex. You got to have a lot of things working financially, recruiting, academics. There's so many components to it, and you need the entire campus really working towards producing a successful football program. And that's where you could argue that the Pac-12 has fallen behind a little bit. The SEC mantra that it just means more, well, it does mean more, and the results, you can see the results from that. And whether it's money or staff sizes, Alabama has 23 people on their football staff that are not coaches. They're recruiting analysts, they're operations people, they're analysts is their actual title. Washington, by contrast, has got 13. So you got almost twice the size of staff. Alabama's budget is much, much higher than Washington's, for instance. So a lot of it is a commitment. And is the Pac-12 willing to make a commitment? There's also some logistical things, scheduling, recruiting, that they could do better. But a lot of it is just deciding that football matters more than water polo, and football matters more than golf. And the conference takes a lot of pride in the success of its Olympic sports.
Well, that's how we win the Sears Cup.
That's right.
You're right. It's called, that nobody knows.
That's right. Just making the commitment. And so we can get into that. I got a guest coming up later, Chris Dufresne.
He can't get here soon enough.
He can't. Our first guest is actually here.
Awesome.
So we can
let me buy him a drink.
Get him in. Ryan, you want to? My second guest is here too. Doof, how are you?
I'm definitely gone.
I appreciate it. Thank you. First guest is making his way in here. That's you.
Call me up?
Yeah, thank you.
John, let's do it. How are you?
I am good.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. What are you guys drinking here?
It's green tea, if you need it, for my voice.
Whiskey or something, like just a whole cup of whiskey?
There's a free drink in it for you if you want.
Okay, all right.
So this is Ryan Opelt, who is the director of the Bay Area Host Committee for the National Championship game. In addition to being executive director of the Red Box Bowl, which was played Monday. Was that 42-41? I can't remember the score.
Something like that. I think
Yeah.
It might have been maybe 7-6.
7-6, yes.
But close. Yeah.
Close game? A close game.
It was a very close game.
Yes.
Oregon and Michigan State. We felt really good about it, actually. I mean, the two great brands,
Yep.
national brands. We had Redbox, obviously our new title partner this year. So, would have liked a little bit more offensive fireworks. I think we'll probably get that on Monday night.
Yes.
So,
Yes, indeed. And you had good TV ratings too, right?
yeah, great TV ratings on Fox, and so no, we're feeling good about that.
So I was wondering if you could kind of walk us through the process of getting the game here, the bid process, why the 49ers, the host committee decided to pursue the game, and how that whole thing unfolded.
Yeah, sure, John. No, it's really our privilege to be able to host this game, and I think one of the things College Football Playoff wanted to do is make sure that they were rotating this event throughout the country.
Right.
And so, and that was really important to them. And obviously, we have world-class stadium and Levi Stadium here to host the event, and so it was really important for us to make sure that these mega events are happening in our region.
Right.
And so certainly this was something that we wanted to go after and be aggressive on and make sure that we had an opportunity to host that. And so again, we're really privileged and can't wait for Monday night.
Yeah. And how long does that was 3 or 4 years ago, right? It's a long draw, right?
That was 2014.
Okay.
Essentially is when I got the bid.
I gotcha.
Yep.
Did the Super Bowl experience help, you think?
I think that helps. That was a little bit different, and a lot of the events were up in San Francisco, but I think we certainly proved that the overarching ability for us to host this type of an event, definitely helps. Great experience for all the teams then. So yeah, for sure. Those types of events, that's what we want to be known for. So whether it's WrestleMania, whether it's the NHL outdoor games, these are really important for our region. And so the 49ers and the Bay Area Host Committee, we are going to make sure that those events are coming to this area.
Or for my daughter, Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift, of course. Yeah, I was there as well.
Yep. How long have you guys? You took over from Atlanta basically a year ago. Could you walk us through how much time and effort, manpower, people power, hours have gone into this? I mean, everywhere I look, there's a volunteer.
This is a major undertaking.
Yeah.
I would say it's been the last two and a half years.
Oh, wow.
We've been working on this event. So we were down in Tampa 2 years ago. That was kind of the first group of us going down there to kind of get a sense for just the level and the scope of this event. Of course, last year we were in Atlanta. So the Bay Area Host Committee it started about a year and a half ago. And that's the entity affiliated with the 49ers that is tasked with kind of representing, bidding on, and then executing these major events. Affiliated with the 49ers. So there's a handful of us that are really dedicated to that, and then we're able to tap into the 49ers teams as well. So their marketing, their partnership department, ticket sales. Everybody's had a hand in this, as well as all the city officials, downtown association, San Jose Sports Authority. So it's our motto is together as one, and we all need to be in this together in the Bay Area to pull off this type of event.
I see. Okay. And the San Jose versus San Francisco decision, how did it unfold and it came down here?
No, sure. We looked at opportunities up in San Francisco. I think we were on many shuttle buses with the football playoff. It was kind of working through, hey, where is it going to make the most sense to host all of the lead-up events? It just turned, obviously both entities have great, ability to host these types of events, but we felt like having critical mass downtown San Jose could really kind of unfold, and it's more of a campus environment. Quad and Discovery Meadow right there, to be able to walk to everything, and so decided, hey, this is the best place to do this.
And it's not like the Super Bowl where it's a full week, right?
Yeah, it's really more this weekend, so it's a weekend celebration. Last night, of course, and through the entire weekend to play the game every night, whereas the Super Bowl is really more of that entire week.
Have there been any specific challenges that have presented themselves?
Every day.
Okay.
Every day. No, I mean, in order to execute something like this, obviously you're planning for 2 years. Working through it's just getting everybody to understand the scope, what this really means, and so we work through that every day. We're putting out fires, we're working through logistics, and hoping to make sure everyone has a terrific experience. Right.
And then the weather, well, at least it's not raining right now.
Can't control.
There's been there's been a lot of talk about the ticket prices, which certainly compared to Atlanta last year, apples to oranges, right? Because that's Atlanta, it's Alabama against Georgia.
Sure.
It's that's a perfect storm in a good way for ticket prices. These have not, the prices have come down, as everyone is aware. Is that how you all are? How will you judge a successful event?
Well, I think it's really more about the experience for the fans, experience for the partners, experience for the media, the student-athlete experience. I mean, I think that's really, in terms of a successful event, you can't really compare Atlanta and Georgia and Alabama last
Right.
year without here, right? The venues are picked, certainly years ahead of time.
Yeah.
We talked about 2014, so you have no idea who the teams are going to be.
Right.
And we're excited. We know we have the two best teams. That's very clear, right? This year,
Yep.
Alabama and Clemson, the two best teams, and that's what we're excited about. We've seen great local demand for the tickets. We've done very, very well here locally, and so comparing them each year, everyone has their own unique elements
Right.
that are at play, different narratives that are at play, but we feel really good about it.
Gotcha. I took my son to Fan Central yesterday.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get him out of there. 3 hours later, he just had a blast. And it struck me that a lot of this is about spreading the gospel of college football, right? Not just the game itself.
For sure, yeah. And I think it's really a celebration of college football.
Right.
And, there's a lot of history here in the Bay Area, as you know. Pac-12 conference here, Cal, Stanford, San Jose State. And so I think we kind of saw this as an opportunity to sort of recapture that excitement around college football and to be able to showcase, Alabama and Clemson, teams that never get out here on the West Coast.
Right.
See them. And hopefully a lot of their alumni that are on the West Coast can come and be a part of that. But yeah, you mentioned the Fan Central. My son was down there yesterday too. He was back down there today. Very family friendly.
Oh, it's great.
That's what this is about, is for, even if you don't have a ticket to the game, locally, or if you're coming in from the different regions, to be able to experience all the different events.
Right.
Concerts last night, which were phenomenal. Fan Central, you talked about, Media Day today was free as well. So it's all of these lead-up events that we are hoping can kind of capture that excitement, passion, and tradition of college football that we all know and love.
I couldn't get him away from the tackling dummy.
Yeah.
It was terrific. Do you have any thoughts on? I know the site was picked before Alabama and Clemson even met for the first time.
Right.
This is their fourth in a row.
Right.
Do you see larger, kind of in your larger role also as a Redbox executive director, the state of college football out on the West Coast, Pac-12 in particular? Do you feel like there's a real foundation there, or do you feel like there's room for growth? How do you view it? Because now you've had two different looks at it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm a long time. I went to
You went to Oregon,
I'm a Pac-12 guy, West Coast guy. I think it is a little bit more unique out here. The geography certainly is very different. So spread out. But if you go to the stadiums on game day, you go to Austin Stadium, you go to Husky Stadium, you go to Boulder. I mean, that fanaticism, the fans are there. It's kind of breaking through the clutter. I think there is so many opportunities. If you're talking about here in the Bay Area, but even on the West Coast. And so I think that the playoff structure, the way that we're kind of all evolving with that right now, that also is sort of impacting. Everyone's kind of just understanding what the college football, what the postseason kind of, it's different now. So we're all sort of adapting to that.
Right. Do you have any thoughts on expanding the playoff? As a fan or as a bowl official?
Have it right. If you look at it right now, you're looking at the two best teams that are playing for the championship. So in that regard, seems like it's working.
Right.
And I think it's really important to protect the regular season of college football. That regular season is the most exciting season in sport, in my opinion. Every weekend, every Saturday, you can't lose one of those games. I mean, once you lose one, there's no margin for error. Right. And so I love the regular season of college football. I think that's what's so exciting. That's what kind of differentiates college football from some of the other sports out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you add another weekend, where do you put it? That's the big thing. There's a lot of talk about going to 8.
Right. And I think, you talk about what's that structure going to look like. I mean, having some arguments, having people kind of understanding it or trying to figure out what that model is. But I think controversy is also good. Yeah. Controversy just drives that awareness too.
It's like the last 0.2 of a marathon, but the uphill in terms of figuring out those last logistics, right?
Sure.
Are you going to get rid of a conference championship game? It's hard to see the conferences wanting to get rid of that and to play the quarterfinals that weekend. Right. Do you put the quarterfinals on a campus in the middle of December? It's a real conundrum, I think, for the schools and the commissioners. Yep. And you look and based on what happened in the semifinals, I mean, there was really only 2 teams worthy. Sorry, and no offense to our Notre Dame fans out in the audience, but you could make the case there were really only 2 teams worthy this year. So going to 8 seems like competitively a real stretch.
Right.
So,
yeah.
You have a prediction before I let you go?
I think it's going to be an incredible game. A lot of points are going to be scored. Can't really predict who's going to win that one. It's
Yeah,
gonna be great.
it should be.
Yeah.
It should be. It'll be interesting how, Alabama is so different than they were because they're such a high-powered offense now.
They are. Yeah.
And
It's
instead of their defense trying to stop Deshaun Watson, it's Clemson's defense trying to stop Tua.
It is. I mean, to me, both the teams are complete teams.
Yep.
There's really not a weakness, so it's hard to kind of point it into you think that one team's going to be better either on offense or defense. I mean, they are both really complete
Yep.
teams. It's going to be a great game.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming by very much.
Thanks so much.
Walking us through the backstory to the local component. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
I hope everything goes smoothly for you.
Appreciate that.
Monday night. Thank you.
Thanks so
okay.
much. All right.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Oh, do we have any questions? I'm told it's time for questions. Oh, good. You got some?
There's a few people here who want a question.
Hi, John. You wrote an article earlier in the season.
No. Whatever I said, I didn't write it.
Oh, yeah. It was regarding the scheduling practices of various conferences.
Yes.
And I think you asked a question of Larry Scott who didn't exactly answer it. And it was regarding where, most conferences tend to schedule their easier games and easier opponents earlier in the season, kind of a preseason.
Yep.
And the SEC tends to do that later in the season. So in the sense that some of the other conferences might start going that direction and having easier games later in the season to up their national rankings.
Yeah, well, it's worth considering if you're the Pac-12 for sure, and even the Big Ten. It's worth considering, as long as it's your TV contracts allow for the flexibility to build in a game. Let's say Washington played Idaho State in mid-November. As long as that's available within the Pac-12 TV contract, and it is, why not do that? Because that saves you, instead of Washington having to play Oregon, then Stanford, then Washington State in succession, why not take a break? The SEC does that. All their big games, Alabama and LSU have byes before they play each other. And then Alabama always gets a FCS opponent before they play Auburn. The SEC has kind of rigged the system, or gamed the system with the schedule. They play only 8. They play an extra non-conference or extra FCS. And they play those cupcake games in November. And it hasn't hurt them, right? I mean, the 2 conferences that play 8 conference games, the ACC and the SEC, have had over half of the bids to the playoff over the years. So there has been the committee has sent no indication that playing the softer schedule is going to hurt you in the selection process. So I think it's worthwhile, and I think that the commissioners have a meeting Monday. They always meet before the championship, on Monday before the championship game. I think that's going to be a big point of discussion for them. They may talk about whether they can go to 8, but there's going to be a lot of discussion with the Big 12, the Big 10, and the Pac-12 that all play 9 conference games. Where's the benefit for us? We're getting left out more often than the 2 conferences are playing 8. So it'll be very interesting to see how that gets handled Monday, and if there's any kind of messaging from the playoff folks going forward about that. But I think the Pac-12 should absolutely explore playing kind of a cupcake weekend, so to speak, in November. There's no reason it's going to hurt you, and it can get your teams a lot fresher. So it's a very interesting component to this whole thing. Oh, I see someone with a Missouri sweatshirt. There you go.
Future home of Kelly Bryant.
That's right.
For Ryder, I had a question. Just as the season was unfolding, from maxing out ticket sales for this game and other marketing, Did you have your eye on any particular match? I mean, what would have worked well in this market, do you think? That was viable.
Yeah, we knew we couldn't control the matchup, so we really can't have, hey, it's got to be this team, in order to make it successful. That wasn't something that we really ever thought about. It's really, we know we're going to have two incredibly deserving teams, and what we're outselling is the event itself. The fact that this is the national championship, this is the college football playoff. The entire college football world is going to be descending here and be a part of this incredible event. That's what we were selling. We weren't really selling the actual matchup until, of course, it was put into play. Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. More questions? Nope. Keep on rolling. All right. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it.
All right, John. Yeah.
Take care. Good luck Monday night.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Roger.
Might be a little different.
Thank you. Okay. So my next guest is somewhere. Oh, there he is. Chris Dufresne, who is the former college football writer for the LA Times, and currently has got. Yeah, well, come on in. Thank you very much. How you doing?
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. So Chris covered college football for the LA Times for a long time. Now he's got his own website, the Media Guides. You got a address you want to plug?
TMGcollegesports.com, and we are part of the I heard more. I'm getting signals from, I guess I'm not close enough to the mic.
Okay.
How come you don't have a mic?
I got well, one of these. Yeah.
All right.
So Chris's site is covers the whole country, and they do a great job with good combination of insight and humor. You guys, it's high on wit.
It is high on wit. Well, we do kind of blanket. I kind of handle the West Coast. We've got Tony Barnhart, if anybody's familiar with Southern football, SEC football, the best, and he handles the South. And we have Mark Blauchen of the Boston Globe, formerly Boston Globe. He's our resident Wiseacre, New Jersey guy. And then Herb Gould, formerly the Chicago Sun-Times, he kind of handles the Big Ten and Notre Dame. So, we try to blanket and just broad overview, but we got like 140 years of experience.
Yeah.
Covering this stuff, so.
And how many times, this will be your what national championship game?
I've covered every championship since '95.
Okay.
All 16 BCS titles. So yeah, that's my streak. I did the NFL before. I did like 9 Super Bowls back in the 80s and 90s. But college football and basketball, mostly football, since '95.
Right. You had the Rams when they were.
I did.
The original.
Rams, and I was at the famous. My last actual game covering the Rams was the Jim Everett Phantom sack game against the 49ers at Candlestick. So then I did 2 years on prison time on covering the Raiders, so that was an experience that was unbelievable. But since '95, mostly college, but also I've done 7 Winter Olympics.
Yep.
I've done all sorts of other baseball, everything. So
Gotcha.
That's why I had to retire. I was exhausted for 35 years.
So, what do you think? First of all, this game. What do you? I'm hoping we get into the Pac-12 situation, but I do want to hear what your thoughts are on the matchup Monday night.
I'm actually writing a story. You talk about we try to do stuff with a different slant or a bit of humor or wit or sarcasm, however you want to put it. But I'm actually writing an advance today on the Clemson Alabama title game of next year in New Orleans, because they're going to meet again. I mean, if you really look at these two teams, quarterbacks are coming back. They're not draft eligible yet.
Yep.
And these guys are huge upgrades. If you think about when Clemson and Alabama played before, or the previous quarterbacks they had who were very good, and they upgraded with Tua and Trevor Lawrence. It's like getting upgrades. You have a Mercedes, and then you get a major upgrade, chrome wheels or whatever. it just set them apart so far above the rest of the field. We didn't need a playoff this year.
Yeah.
And I've argued that too. The BCS would have worked fine for this season. They would have picked the right two teams. Everyone else was arguing about it, crying, oh, we should have been, oh, Georgia, we should have been number 4. Well, guess what? You got your butt kick in the bowl game. So, these are the 2 best coaches. These are the 2 best quarterbacks. Or maybe, Kyler Murray would be an exception. And they are here to stay. And I honestly, it's sort of a joke, but you tell me who else is going to be in next year's championship game in New Orleans. Saban and Dabo are coming back.
Yep.
Quarterback's coming back. Number 1 recruiting classes. These places have got it going, and if you don't like it, then do something about it.
Yep.
You have to beat them. You have to out-recruit them. You have to win the games you have a chance to win. Georgia, Georgia's had 2 chances to beat Alabama, and they didn't do it. Ohio State, don't lose at Purdue by 29 points, or you have a chance. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and it's kind of a weird, unique setting here to have these 2 Southern schools that are meeting for the 4th straight year, twice in the national title games, last year in the semifinals, in a place like San Jose and Santa Clara, kind of out of place. You're asking those fans bases to travel, and spend a lot of money, and so it is kind of a different kind of atmosphere. But that's what, it goes up to me. The championship game would be at the Rose Bowl every year. But guess what? That's not happening. I covered the Rose Bowl Tuesday, and it was 3 days after the national semifinal games. On paper, everything was perfect. The weather, 60 degrees, sunset. Yet it was, there's something lacking in that matchup, even though it was a traditional matchup.
Yep.
And that's the fault of the system. At least in the BCS, the Rose Bowl got a national title game every 4 years in the rotation.
Right.
And it gave us it gave us Nebraska and Miami on a Thursday night, not so good. It also gave us Texas, USC. It gave us Alabama, Texas. But that's not going to happen again. This is the world we live in.
So you're not in favor of going to 8, I take it.
I just don't, look, for 130 years, there wasn't nobody talked about a playoff in college football.
Yeah.
Since 1998, we've had 16 years of the BCS, 4 years of the 14, and now people want to go to 8. This is exponentially growing into what a lot of us don't want to see, which is, I don't want college football to be the NFL. I covered the NFL. The NFL's fine. Everything's even. Everything's perfect. The weak teams get rewarded with top draft picks. The good teams have to go back down in the order. They want everyone to be 9-7. They want 4 billion playoff possibilities in the last weekend, which is what they got. College football is the opposite. College football is Darwinism, cannibalism. It's honest to goodness, it's weak versus strong. And Alabama and Nick Saban, he can get 10 first-round picks every year.
Yep.
In recruiting, and you can't stop him because Alabama as a brand will always be better than Louisiana Tech as a brand every year, no matter what the record is. And it's unfair. Stadiums are unfair. The distribution of wealth is unfair. Public versus private, Stanford versus Cal is unfair. USC versus UCLA is unfair. That's what I like about it. It's like I like that it's not fair.
Right.
It's like you've got to sue somebody to get a seat at the table.
Yeah.
But that's our sport.
So what about relegation?
Well, that's a great
Send the
idea.
10 worst teams in major college football down to FCS.
I love that. I love Arkansas getting sent down to the Sun Belt or
There you go.
USA and then bringing up Appalachian State or somebody.
Oh, that would be great.
That would be awesome. Guess what? Arkansas, all these teams that are grandfathered into, that's the other thing that's unfair about college football, but they love it. It doesn't matter. Arkansas has been in the SEC since 1992. They've never won anything. They won a division. They've never won the SEC. Yet they get all the money from the SEC. They get all the perks. They get all the benefits. And any year that they win 8 or or 9 games, they're guaranteed to be in the top 15 because, you know, the SEC lifts all, Alabama lifts all boats in the conference. So, but that's totally unfair. That's great. You know, it's like,
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's kind of the opposite of college basketball. With
I don't want I don't want college football to be college basketball.
Yeah.
I don't care about the regular season. And the season is built around a 6-week window at the NCAA tournament, which is fantastic. It's the best kind of event, you know, comparable to a World Cup, kind of a 4 or 5 week event. Fantastic. But who cares about first semester basketball? Who's talking about the Pac-12 right now, other than trying to find a UCLA coach? And I don't want college football to become that. College football still is a very you know, healthy, competitive regular season. It is, you know, the most relevant regular season in sports. And every layer you go into this playoff, 8 teams, well, 8 teams isn't going to work. You know, it wouldn't have worked this year. Look at the 8. If there would have been an 18 playoff this year, Michigan was in and Florida was out. Well, those 2 teams played.
yeah,
Georgia was in, Texas was out. Those 2 teams played.
yeah,
So, and in an 18 playoff, and I hate to tell people this, but you have to include the group of 5 Central Florida automatic qualifiers.
absolutely.
Or there'll be lawsuits of the Yazoo. So that means a team that could win the national title will not be in the 18 format.
Yep.
You could get 10-2 Boise or Fresno State. They will have to be represented.
Yep.
And so, how is that? It's going to be a different set of arguments. And then you talk about how do you do it? You know, you can poke holes. You can poke holes in any. I just think it's funny that for 16 years we need a 14 playoff, and then that'll solve everything. And after 4 years, that's not good enough anymore.
Yep.
Well, then 18. Well,
Right.
now we have to go to 16. Well, 32, I think, is the right number. Well,
32.
48. Well, then we'll do the
Yeah.
Mike Leach thing. Put
Right.
everybody in.
Put everybody in. So, speaking of Mike Leach and the Pac-12, big, you know, I wanted to talk to you, ask you about the Pac-12 and its place right now in the playoff picture. Which school and why would have the best chance to get into the national championship game? It's been, Oregon got there in 2014. I was looking up. So, number of national championships won by Pac-12 schools. There have been 10. One school has won 7 of them. SC's got 7, Colorado 1, UCLA 1, Washington 1, and that's in the poll era. So,
Yes.
and UCLA's was what, Red Sanders, 1955? 54.
Half share.
There we go.
They got the UPI coaches
Okay.
title, and Ohio State, I believe, won
Okay.
the AP title that year. Yeah.
So in the modern era, basically, let's say 1990, Colorado, 91, Washington. That's it, other than SC. So do the schools have the recruiting reach? Other than USC, does any school really have the recruiting reach, the budget, the facilities to not only win the conference, but then take those last 2 steps, which are the hardest steps of all? Yeah. You got to line up and you got to beat Oklahoma, and then you got to be able to beat Clemson or Bama. And it seems like that is, at least from where it is now, that's a long haul.
It's hard. It's harder. It's geographically harder. It's time zone harder. The distance between, Pullman and Tucson is harder. It's interesting. But if you look back, and I went back and did this research, because in the Pac-12 is always out of step. It's always the kid that gets to class 5 minutes late and gets the door slammed on it, and the teacher won't. The timing is terrible. But if you look back at the BCS era, which I did, if there had been a 14 playoff in the BCS era, the Pac-12 10/12 would have had 10 teams in the playoff.
Yep.
And not just USC, Washington, Oregon, Stanford, and Stanford and Oregon. One year, both of them would have been in. It would have been like Georgia and Alabama last year. So, you know, in that system, they were always the third team out. Now they're the number 5.
Right.
Everything just adjusts downward because the system is built to reward the SEC.
Yeah.
The SEC literally created the BCS. And when it went to 4, they wanted to go to 4 not because they wanted other people to be inclusive. They wanted to go to 4 so they could get 2 teams in. And guess what? This year, when LSU was sitting there like number 7 or 8 late in the season, there was a scenario where the SEC could have gotten 3 teams out of 4 this year.
Yep.
And that's what they want. But they operate under a different umbrella.
So it hasn't been that long since the Pac-12 had teams that could compete at that level, which would seem to indicate it could get back to that point.
Yeah, and we talked earlier about Nick Saban and Dabo. When I look at the conference, I do not see a elite coach, elite Nick Saban-esque coach.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll was. He's not there anymore. Who is close? Chris Peterson, I thought so, but it's weird about Chris Peterson. I don't know, John, if you agree with me. I liked him as a coach a lot more at Boise State than I liked him at Washington. He was a guy at Boise that, and Urban Meyer even talked about having to stay up at night and have to watch what Chris Peterson is doing at Boise. You don't have to watch to see what Washington plays like any other Power 5, good to very good team, very conservative, and maybe that's because of personnel, maybe because he thinks he has better players now, he doesn't have to do different things. But to me, it's a different coach. Not elite. Mike Leach, not elite. Mike Leach will only succeed in Lubbock and Pullman.
He's perfect.
It's where he is. He should be, and any talk about him going to a major university, his personality would be in conflict with many, administrations, chancellors, and he doesn't have, he can be quirky Mike Leach in Pullman and talk about Bigfoot and all sorts of things. It's very refreshing, but I don't see him as I don't see him in the same class as a Nick Saban.
Right.
So who's the Nick Saban? In the conference, and they don't have one.
They don't have one. To me, I posed this question on Twitter yesterday. Which Pac-12 school has got the best chance to get back there? And everybody's like, well, Washington or Oregon, just because of recent success, and Oregon's recruiting well. But I get back to SC. I still think SC's got, by far, if you compare SC's situation to Alabama's or Ohio State's, their advantage over the rest of the Pac-12 is greater than any of those other schools in their conferences.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Oregon, the problem with Oregon is you have to work so hard at Oregon to get the right set of players and roster, and that's what happened to Chip Kelly the first time, is that you had to go to Texas to find players. You can't just recruit Oregon. They only have, how many Division I players are there?
Right.
You have to recruit California.
Yep.
You have to recruit nationally. It's hard. At USC, you can throw out a net every year. And you should have all the players you need to compete for a national title every year. And what's preventing that? Well, bad hires or NCAA sanctions for sure, over the last decade. But really a series of peculiar and bad hires at a high profile, Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian. And they didn't hire Ed Orgeron. They had a chance to hire Ed. Maybe that would have been the right move, although I don't know. And Clay Helton. I think that's the answer.
Right. And UCLA, to me, that's a huge the Chip Kelly experiment is huge for the Pac-12 over the next few years.
And I think, UCLA has always been the diamond in the rough, that mystery mansion on the hill. You don't know why they're not better every year. Because if you visited the campus,
Right. Yep.
but I think there are reasons behind it. It's a UC school and a bureaucratic system. They have, and this is a true story. When Norm Chow was kind of run off of the USC by Pete Carroll because he wanted to bring in his little co-coordinators, and Norm quit. He went to UCLA and became the offensive coordinator under Rick Neuheisel. And I had a conversation with Norm one time, and he talked to me about the difference between being a coach at USC, a private school, and UCLA, which is a public school California system. And he was, muttering under his breath about what it took to get a stapler at UCLA. I had to go to Sacramento to get at USC. If I wanted a projector, I had it the next day. Private versus public, again. But UCLA is intriguing. My question is, I don't know how badly Chip Kelly wants to be there. I think he took that job because he could recede into the landscape of a major metropolis that wasn't really that interested in UCLA football.
Yep.
He's not that interested in it. There's a reason he didn't take the Florida job, because Florida, he would have been under a microscope every day. They would have demanded him to go out and do booster functions and meeting with pressing the flesh, which is something he does not like to do. That being said, I think he can still get it done at UCLA. It's going to be harder, but he can do it. I overheard your previous conversation about why it's more difficult for UCLA and USC and the entire conference. A lot of it is the 8-9 game schedule we talked about. Well, USC plays Notre Dame every year, and usually somebody else good. Sometimes it's Texas. If you look at USC's opening, when the Pac-12 schedule came out this year, I wrote a story, kind of cynically. I eliminated the Pac-12 from next year's championship.
It was a brilliant story.
I mean, it's over. Look at USC. They're going to be done. If Clay Helton has a job on October 13th, he'll be the coach of the year. Let's open against Fresno.
Yep.
Oh, that's great. They just won 12 games with a coach maybe they should have hired. They play at Utah. They play at Washington. They play at Notre Dame. They play somebody else. Stanford.
That's their first 5 games.
So if you're a USC fan, right around October 15th next year, I might be wondering what Urban Meyer is up to and teaching leadership and character on the campus of Ohio State University. I might wonder what take his temperature around mid-October if USC is 2-4 or 3-3, because I think Urban's sitting out. He's going to wait and see what the job. It could be USC. It could be Miami, it could be one of those Florida State, one of those jewel programs. I don't think Urban's done. He's 54 years old. He's done this before. It's been the same MO.
Or we could see Cliff Kingsbury promoted, by mid-October to.
If he's even there. He's already being wooed by NFL teams. And in fact, it's funny. I just was reading that USC has blocked permission for NFL teams to speak to Cliff. This is just funny. The guy, and this tells you about the state of USC. They just hired this guy, a celebrated hire, a good hire, a kind of offensive coordinator they needed, and a month later he's already looking to leave. It's just a bad look.
Yeah. So, National Championship game, it's at the new LA Stadium in the 2023 season?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
New Orleans next year, and then
Tampa? Maybe Tampa?
Miami. Okay.
So they're getting LA in about 4 years. You think we'll have seen a Pac-12 team in the playoff. They'll get somebody in the playoff, but you see a Pac-12 team playing for the title within that period of time, given where all the programs are now, especially the programs that may have the better chance to to get there?
It's hard for me to envision. I told probably John at Pac-12 meeting today, and I told Commissioner Larry Scott to his face, and I told him, I said, this is the work. This is the, and I've covered the league and followed it all my life. I've covered it closely for 20 years. I said, this is the least excited I've ever been about a season. There's no way you're getting in because of the combination of, and as it turned out, Washington State ended up being pretty good. But if you looked at who they played and how that was going to be used against them, they played at Wyoming, which. And I asked my SEC friends, I said, well, how many SEC schools would play a game at Wyoming? None.
None.
Okay, but still, they're not going to get credit for that. Every year where you look at a team that could do it, the schedule is either too hard and they don't have the manpower to do it, or the schedule is too easy and it'll be used against them. Washington got just railed 2 years ago because they played Rutgers and whoever else. This year they played Auburn. Well, they had a schedule that could have got them there. They lost 3 games by 10 points, so they were close.
Yep.
I think Washington has the interior machinery and manpower. If you look at the difference between Clemson and Alabama and every other team in the country, it's on the offensive and defensive lines.
Yeah.
They're superior. And USC can do that. Washington can do that. Oregon's got to work really hard. Oregon's got to play a different way.
Yep.
And I know they just signed a huge recruit. But to get those kind of players that Nick Saban they get those guys, you don't even know their names.
Yeah.
I don't know their names. I cover Alabama. And I don't know what their names are. I just know they're good. And they're all going to be...
And they're huge.
And they're going to be in the NFL.
Yep.
And there's nothing like that in the Pac-12. And that's... If you look at what Alabama did last weekend, it was amazing because Nick Saban, after complaining about tempo in college football 5 years ago and wanting to outlaw Chip Kelly's up-tempo, now he decided, he hired Lane Kiffin. Nick Saban made a calculated decision that we need to score more. We're winning 24/7, but we need to be more dynamic. And if you look at what Alabama's offense is right now, maybe the greatest college football offense assembled. Certainly Nick's best offense. His defense isn't as good.
Right.
They gave up 300 passing yards and 100 rushing yards to Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
But look at what happened when he had a big lead last week. He switched. Now I can bring the tight ends.
Yeah.
We can run this clock out, and they'll never get closer than 11.
Yep.
And that's why they're different.
Nuts. You got a score prediction? We got to wrap this up, but you got a score prediction for Monday night?
I'm going to pick Clemson. I just think they're the only team. They're the one team that can stand up. I think they're better on the defensive front.
Yeah.
And it might be like the last 2 championship games. Final drive.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic, especially after the semifinals.
Yeah.
So, well, I can't thank you enough, my friend, for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Enlightening everybody. And I think we're wrapping this up, huh? All right. Well, thanks, everybody, for coming out.